My young seeker of wisdom. When the world looks upon financial titans Buffett, Gates, Soros, Dalio, Bezos, and others, it often gazes first at their wealth, the vast empires they built, the companies they shaped, the markets they bent, with a single decision. Yet those who see only fortune see only half the truth. For in the minds of the greatest financial titans, wealth is not merely a measure of success, it is a responsibility, a burden, a torch handed down from the invisible hands of fate, demanding to be used not only for personal prosperity, but for the stewardship of humanity's future. Their philanthropic efforts are not acts of charity alone. They are strategic expressions of worldview, of moral architecture, of beliefs, forged through decades of triumphs, failures, and encounters with the fragile nature of human civilization. True philanthropy from a titan does not arise from guilt. It arises from clarity, from the understanding that wealth, left without purpose, decays into vanity. But wealth directed toward the right levers, health, education, opportunity, innovation, becomes a multiplier of human potential. And so, my young student, let us explore how the world's most powerful financial minds choose to shape the destiny of millions through acts of giving that are anything but simple. Consider Warren Buffett, the quiet giant of Omaha, who pledged more than 99% of his fortune to philanthropy. Buffett does not give impulsively. He gives structurally. His donations flow primarily through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, because he believes in leveraging the expertise of others rather than reinventing the machinery of global charity. Buffett is not interested in symbolic generosity. He is interested in measurable impact. His philanthropy mirrors his investing. Patient, disciplined, focused on long-term outcomes. He finances vaccinations, education programs, disease eradication initiatives, and global health systems projects that do not make headlines but save millions of lives quietly. In Buffett's worldview, philanthropy is not the distribution of wealth, it is the compounding of hope. Then turn your gaze to Bill Gates, whose transformation from tech magnate to humanitarian statesman is one of the most profound shifts in modern history. Through the Gates Foundation, Gates targets systemic problems: malaria, polio, sanitation, digital inclusion, agricultural resilience. He approaches global suffering like an engineer, identifying bottlenecks, studying data, building scalable solutions, and deploying capital with scientific precision. To Gates, philanthropy is a laboratory where humanity tests solutions to its most persistent challenges. His giving does not mirror charity as the masses know it. It mirrors infrastructure vast, carefully designed, and relentlessly optimized. Now consider George Soros, whose philanthropic efforts are different in nature but equal in magnitude. Through his Open Society foundations, Soros invests in democracy, human rights, education, independent journalism, and civil liberties. He funds institutions that protect freedom in nations where freedom is fragile, supports activists in regions where power is abused, and builds academic networks that keep critical thinking alive. Soros's philanthropy is political in the truest sense, not tied to parties but to principles. He believes that open societies are essential for human progress, and he invests in them the same way he once invested in markets: decisively, strategically, and with an understanding that the greatest battles are fought not with weapons, but with ideas. Ray Dalio, the philosopher king of macro investing, directs his philanthropy toward a mixture of economic research, ocean exploration, educational reform, and social equity. Dalio funds studies on income inequality and supports initiatives that reshape public policy. He builds museums dedicated to understanding the ocean's mysteries, invests in meditation and mental wellness programs, and supports educational systems that nurture creativity rather than conformity. Dalio's philanthropy reflects his deepest belief that civilizations rise and fall based on how well they understand themselves. Thus, He gives not only money but frameworks, mental models designed to help society navigate cycles of prosperity and decline. Jeff Bezos, though newer to large-scale philanthropy, channels his resources into climate preservation through the Bezos Earth Fund, a $10 billion commitment to combat climate change. He invests in reforestation, renewable energy innovation, environmental justice, and carbon mitigation technologies. Bezos sees Earth as infrastructure, the ultimate infrastructure upon which every business, every family, every dream relies. Therefore, protecting it is not a charitable act, it is an existential one. He also invests in education through Bezos Academy, offering Montessori-inspired learning to underserved communities. Even in philanthropy, Bezos thinks in terms of scalability and system design. Then there is Mackenzie Scott, whose philanthropic methods have stunned the world. She does not create bureaucratic foundations. She deploys capital swiftly, directly, and with radical trust. Billions flow from her hands to small nonprofits, community organizations, racial equity groups, and educational institutions, often without any application process at all. She reads, researches, reflects, and then gives with unprecedented speed. Her philanthropy resembles venture capital for social impact, fast, flexible, and fueled by faith in local leadership. Scott's approach teaches a powerful lesson. Sometimes impact accelerates when control is relinquished. And do not forget Elon Musk, whose philanthropic style mirrors his technological vision. Musk focuses on existential risks, sustainable energy, human multiplanetary survival, AI safety. He gives to X-Prize competitions, educational programs, disaster relief, and scientific initiatives aimed at preserving the long-term future of humanity. He is less interested in traditional charity than in engineering solutions to prevent civilizational stagnation or collapse. Musk gives like a futurist, funding ideas that stretch decades beyond the present moment. Yet what ties these financial titans together is not the scale of their giving, but the intentionality behind it. Each one chooses causes that mirror their worldview. Buffett seeks long-term, compounding improvement in global health. Gates eradicates systemic disease and reinvents sanitation. Soros defends freedom and the flow of ideas. Dalio studies society to help it avoid decline. Bezos aims to preserve the Earth's ecological foundation. Scott empowers local leaders through trust-based philanthropy. Musk funds humanity's long-term survival. Their philanthropy reveals their inner architecture, what they fear, what they hope, what they believe humanity needs most. But now, young one, let us look deeper still, into the strategic mechanisms behind their giving. For philanthropy at this scale is not random generosity. It is an extension of influence. Financial titans create foundations because they understand that money without direction dissipates. They endow institutions so that their impact outlives their bodies. They collaborate with governments, universities, scientists, activists, and global agencies to multiply the reach of each dollar. Their philanthropy shapes policy, accelerates innovation, and alters the trajectory of entire nations. Some criticize this power, believing it undemocratic. Others praise it, seeing it as a force of progress. But whether one agrees or not, the truth remains. Financial titans reshape the world through the same force that built their wealth: strategic allocation of resources toward high-leverage opportunities. And as we approach the end of this first scroll, the final revelation emerges. Philanthropy is not the opposite of investing. It is the evolution of it. For financial titans understand that the ultimate investment is not in companies but in civilizations, not in markets but in humanity, not in quarterly returns but in the legacy that will echo centuries beyond their time. And, in the next chapter of our journey, we shall explore how these titans design their giving systems, how they measure impact, how they confront the moral dilemmas of wealth, and how philanthropy becomes a mirror reflecting the deepest convictions of those who wield great fortune, revealing not only what they strive to fix in the world but what they believe the world must become. And now, my young seeker, We continue our descent into the second half of this tale, where the true architecture of philanthropic power, its mechanisms, its moral tensions, its long shadows and bright possibilities unfolds like an ancient manuscript of human intention. For when financial titans give, they do not merely choose causes, they choose doctrines. Every act of philanthropy is an expression of worldview. And so, to understand their giving, you must understand what each titan sees when they gaze upon humanity's fragile future. Warren Buffett, with the calm of an elder who has seen cycles rise and fall, believes that the greatest good emerges from patient, compounding action. His philanthropy mirrors his investing. Trust competent managers, deploy capital where it will grow quietly, and let time do the heavy lifting. He chooses not to build a personal empire of charity. Instead, he places his fortune into institutions already proven, already structured, already capable of delivering measurable impact. His philosophy teaches a subtle truth. Philanthropy is strongest when ego is absent. Buffett understands that the purpose of giving is not credit, but outcomes. Bill Gates approaches philanthropy like an engineer conducting a global experiment. He seeks scalability, replicability, and the elimination of bottlenecks that condemn millions to unnecessary suffering. Gates invests in vaccines not because they are symbolic, but because they produce exponential impact. A single medical breakthrough can save more lives than 1,000 donations scattered across unrelated causes. His philanthropy is a calculus of maximum leverage. And behind this precision lies a moral conviction. Every life is equal. Whether born in Seattle or a remote village, far from modern infrastructure, George Soros directs his philanthropy toward the fragile architecture of freedom itself. He knows from his early years escaping tyranny, observing propaganda, witnessing fear how quickly a society can collapse when democratic principles are not fiercely defended. Through his Open Society foundations, Soros funds legal aid, independent journalism, minority rights, academic freedom, and social reform movements. His giving is not always popular, nor comfortable, nor safe. But it emerges from his belief that inheritance means nothing if society becomes a prison of controlled thought. He gives to protect the conditions that allow truth to breathe. Ray Dalio's philanthropy is a meditation on cycles. He studies what causes nations to rise and fall, and he directs his wealth toward preventing avoidable decline. He supports economic inclusion because he knows inequality can tear nations apart. He funds historical research because learning from the past prevents repeating catastrophe. He invests in ocean preservation because the survival of ecosystems determines the survival of civilizations. Dalio's giving reveals a timeless insight. Prosperity requires balance, and when balance is lost, decline accelerates. Mackenzie Scott gives with a philosophy that surprises even seasoned philanthropists. Trust the people closest to the problem. She rejects bureaucracy, rejects control, rejects the notion that the wealthy must supervise the use of funds. She sends billions in unrestricted gifts to small nonprofits, local leaders, indigenous groups, women-led institutions, and community networks. Her approach teaches a lesson many wealthy individuals fear to learn: that trust can be a form of catalytic capital, accelerating change faster than oversight ever could. Jeff Bezos directs his giving toward climate and education because he understands that the two greatest threats to future prosperity are environmental collapse and inequality of opportunity. His Earth Fund operates like a strategic investment arm for the planet itself, directing money into technologies that may define humanity's survival. Bezos Academy reflects his belief that early childhood education is the greatest equalizer in society. His philanthropy reveals a worldview shaped by global logistics, planetary risk, and long-term vision. Elon Musk, on the other hand, sees philanthropy through the lens of existential risk. His giving supports initiatives that ensure humanity's long-term survival, whether through sustainable energy, multiplanetary expansion, or artificial intelligence safety. Critics often complain that Musk should donate more traditionally, but they fail to grasp the structure of his thought. He is not trying to soothe present suffering. He is trying to prevent future extinction. His philanthropy is not warm nor sentimental. It is strategic, even surgical. He funds species-level insurance. Now, my young student, let us examine the mechanisms that allow philanthropic giants to multiply impact far beyond their dollars. First is institutional leverage. These titans rarely give directly. They build foundations, endowments, and networks. Institutions outlive their founders. Institutions amplify every dollar through partnerships, grants, and public-private collaboration. Institutions convert money into movement. Second is continuous compounding of impact. Just as capital compounds, so does social progress when given direction. A vaccination program reduces disease, which improves education, which increases income, which reduces poverty, which improves stability. Financial titans invest in causes where progress spreads outward like ripples. Third is data-driven measurement. Gone are the days when philanthropy was guided by sentiment. These modern giants analyze metrics: infection rates, graduation rates, carbon reductions, literacy improvements. They treat philanthropy like a portfolio, requiring accountability. Their generosity is compassionate but never blind. Fourth is policy influence. Wealthy donors often shape the very laws that determine a society's trajectory. Whether one agrees or disagrees with this influence, it is undeniable that philanthropy at this scale becomes a form of strategic governance. Financial titans invest in think tanks, academic research, economic studies, and advocacy groups that shape national and global agendas. And finally, there is legacy design, the quiet but powerful force beneath every titan's philanthropic architecture. These individuals do not give only to solve today's problems. They build systems meant to outlive their names. Buffett's fortune will compound in the hands of Gates for decades. Gates' foundation is engineered to deploy its entire endowment within a set time horizon. Soros built a global network of institutions. Scott is seeding organizations that will flourish without her. Dalio and Bezos are funding scientific disciplines that will influence generations yet unborn. Musk is pushing humanity toward futures that rewrite our relationship with survival. Philanthropy, at its highest level, becomes not an act of kindness but an act of design. And now, young one, the scroll nears its end. But no tale is complete without the final lesson. Wealth becomes immortal only when it serves something greater than its owner. Financial titans have learned, each in their own way, that riches perish with time, but impact endures. Buildings crumble, corporations fade, markets shift, but a cured disease, a saved ecosystem, a protected freedom, an educated child, a preserved future, these endure like monuments carved into the fabric of civilization. So let this final invitation rest upon your heart. Share in the comments which philanthropic philosophy resonates most deeply with your own spirit. And if this journey into the minds of financial titans has stirred reflection within you, subscribe to this channel, where each lesson reveals another layer of the wisdom that shapes empires, societies, and the destiny of humankind.